Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. My name is Hitesh and you're watching Sultan of Soccer. If you are new here, which most likely you are given my 17 odd subscriber user base, and first and foremost, thank you so much for to those 17 people who subscribed my channel. If you're new here, the channel is all about talking about football, i.e. the Premier League, La Liga, you name it, and we'll talk about it. I'm trying to start something new where we are going to make one dish out of all of the countries that exist in the world, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened during the match week. The idea here is we have some fun, we talk about football, and also we learn a new recipe. So let me know what you think about it. And for today, we're gonna start with Jollof Rice. All right, before you all start the debate of who makes Jollof Rice better, whether it's Nigeria or whether it's Ghana, I'm gonna be playing Switzerland here. I found a recipe online that sounded good to me. And to be really honest, I don't even know which one it is, but we're gonna make it, we're gonna taste test it, and then we'll figure out the final verdict. So before we start talking about what happened in match day week 1 in the Premier League, let's talk about the ingredients. I have this puree here. So this has red bell pepper, tomato, onion, garlic, as well as green chili. Now, I know you're not supposed to use green chili in a traditional jollof recipe, but that's what we had in our garden. So, you do you. You can stick to the more traditional recipe. And one more thing, just make sure you wash those vegetables. Don't be nasty. Let's talk about the rice here. So what I did was I washed this rice, and what I also made sure is that the water was transparent. The idea is to take all the starch out of the rice. I have some cut onions that you cannot see right now on the chopping board, and then I have the seasoning mix. This seasoning mix has garlic powder, ginger powder, a little bit of turmeric. I am from India, so I have to put turmeric in everything. Don't judge. And then I have just like a generic seasoning powder in here, and we'll talk about like when to add and how to add these. So without further ado, let's get started. And then the first thing to go in here is gonna be some onions. So while the onion is cooking, let's talk about what exactly happened in the Arsenal match, right? That's my team. Arsenal kicked off the Premier League season against Coventry City. For those who don't know, Coventry City right now are being led by what's his name? That famous midfielder who played for Chelsea, Frank Lampard. Coventry has come up in the Premier League after 25 odd years, and I have to say, for the first 4 minutes or so, they did look good. Arsenal were clearly a little nervous at the back, given that Saliba is injured, Gabriel was trying to marshal the troops. But I feel like after those first 5 minutes, Arsenal were able to get a grip of the game. And then from there on, it was pretty much smooth sailing. It was 3-0 at the end of the day, and not really any concerning things. Like, I know that there are speculations that Bruno Guimaraes might be out for a while, but really depending upon what Mikel Arteta said and what I'm reading online, him and Ezri Konsa might be making their debut against Villa. All in all, I think it was a really good performance. I have to say that Solis so far looks like a really good signing. He does remind me of Alexis Sanchez personality, kind of, sort of, because just the way he runs directly towards the defenders, and also he did provide technically an assist according to the FPL score that I saw. So all in all, nothing to worry about. Really, really good performance by Arsenal. Okay, now let's talk about the next step. So the onion is cooking, just like how Manchester United got cooked by Hull City. I have to say, I don't know if you all know about this, but Hull City are the favorites to go down. If you look at the betting charts, I will say, and I will never encourage betting, but that's all, I'm using that as a stat. And it seemed like it almost reminded to me of how Arsenal were defeated against Brentford all those years ago when Brentford came up, right? It almost seemed like very similar. United were dominated by Hull City whenever it came to these set pieces, and you could see that there is clearly a disconnect. I think the signing of Carlos Balebas should solve it, and I think it's still early days for to say anything about the Manchester United as a team. I think it's still early days, and I don't think so. The United fans need to panic as of now, but it definitely looks like the same old problems still persist. It seemed like Bruno was totally out of the game, and it almost seemed like out of desperation when they started taking all those shots. I have to say, it was a fairy tale return for Hull City back to the Premier League. Let's see what they do because, to be really honest, their only recognized striker is Ollie McBurney, whose career in the Premier League has not been that great if you trace it back to his Sheffield United days. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think it'll be still interesting to see who else comes to United. They're talking about Balde from Barcelona coming in as a new left back. I think they still need at least another right back. That's just my opinion, but that's just as a fan. But again, overall, I think it was a great result and a big upset in the first week of the Premier League. Okay, let's talk about next steps now. So, I already have added my white rice that was washed into the puree. I also added all the seasoning, including the evaporated ocean, also known as salt. Add the salt as according to your taste buds. I tend to eat less salt, so I added less salt in here. All I'm going to do next here, and then we can talk about the next two matches that I wanted to talk about, is put the aluminium foil in here. The idea is that we let the rice cook and steep into the puree, and then also make sure that it retains moisture as well. No one really likes dry rice as such, so what we're going to do is let this cook for about 20 odd minutes, and then we'll get back to it and I'll show you how it looks and we'll do closing thoughts. So, but let's talk about Manchester City versus Bournemouth. It wasn't pretty. There's no other way to put it. I think at the end of the day, it's a big transition for any club to go from Pep Guardiola to Enzo Maresca. And I hate to say this to City fans, and I might be wrong, but this is going to be painful for you all. Clearly, there is a big gap. I think Anderson still needs time to settle down. Ayub Buwadi coming in to fill in that gap left by Rodrigo. Let's be honest, it's very hard to replace plays by Rodrigo. Even at his age of 30 years old, I think Rodrigo gives so much to any team in this world. I think Ayub Buwadi will take his own sweet time to settle down because we've seen this. Again, people might argue like, oh, look at Mamadou Sangare and he was brilliant for Brentford. But again, there's a difference. There's a difference in the pressure that comes for playing with Manchester City versus Brentford. Overall, I think the big gaping hole in my mind for City is going to be their defense. But, I might be proved wrong here. I think we saw today Gay was playing in the midfield. That's not going to be the case. Gay is going to be one of the centre backs. Him along with Ruben Diaz and Josko Guardiola in the back, they might give the solidity that City needs. Overall, I think City will still be happy with those 3 points, but you can still see that gap and you can still see that City's trying to understand Enzo Maresca's way of playing. Tough pill to swallow for Bournemouth. I think they did everything right. I think they did everything they could. But again, as the season progresses with their European season also coming up, I think we'll see definitely those European nights taking effect in the Bournemouth team. I think they might have more injuries further down the season and they might taper off eventually. But all in overall, I think it was a good result for Manchester City. And then the last match that I wanted to talk about before we do the grand reveal of Jollof Rice is Newcastle versus Liverpool. I have to say that this fixture seems to never disappoint. We've seen potentially for the last 3 seasons, that last minute winner by Darwin Núñez. The same happened against Liverpool when Rio and Gomua scored. And now, the last kick of the ball was a penalty that Szoboszlai scored. I think with Liverpool as well, I think they really need those bodies. I know people are saying that they need an attack, but I don't know if it was only me, but I think their midfield just does not look balanced. I think they need a really good DM. And I might be, preaching to the choir here because the Liverpool fans that I talk to, everyone says that they need a DM, but it seems like the ownership doesn't really think like that. Only God knows, whether Anthony Iraola, his name is a tongue twister, also wants a DM or not. But overall, I think it was a good result for Liverpool given the fact that they were trailing. They trailed twice and they were able to equalize. It's going to be interesting if Cody Gakpo stays in that attack. Who knows if he's going to Spurs. But overall, I think it was a heartbreak for Newcastle, given the kind of season they've had. They've lost, their captain. They have lost their coach that was helping them, that won them that trophy. I think Newcastle might be that surprise of the season. Who knows? Like, this season being out of Europe might actually help them, and they claw their way back into European places. Overall, I think it was a good performance by Newcastle. I think Liverpool has quite a lot to improve. Jeremy Jackett does look like a really good defender. I have to say, if Mikel Arteta is eyeing a defender, 7 out of 10 times, that defender is going to be really good. I think if Bradley Barcola comes into this Liverpool attack, I think it definitely, creates that threat on the left-hand side. Isak and Wirtz look good in flashes. I still think that the jury's out there for Wirtz, because in today's game he had flashes early on in the match, but as the match progressed, he kind of sort of vanished almost out of the game. It's going to be interesting, like, what Liverpool does with him if he doesn't come good this season, because he's still young. Yes, it was his first season in the Premier League, but he is that big money signing. Like, in my mind, I think when you think about £100 million players, they come with a reputation. You expect them to just come and slot in, and start producing the results. Like, I might be biased, but in my mind, Declan Rice, he fit into this team perfectly. And I would argue he's only improved as a player, and he's only 27 years old. And I think he still has like a step or two more to take, and show to the world that he might be the best midfielder in the world potentially in the next year or two. So we'll see how the season progresses, and then we'll check on this bad boy in about 20 odd minutes. And okay, so time for the moment of truth here. This has been cooking for about 20-ish odd minutes, I want to say. But so let's see how it looks right now. Okay, so definitely runnier than I wanted it to be, but you know what? You learn some, and then, next time I'll make sure I can nail down the texture. But at the end of the day, it's all about that taste. So, let's do a little tasty taste at this point. So it's definitely very hot, but let's see. Oh yeah, that's not bad. I mean, yeah, could the texture be different? Sure. But, how I've seen a lot of people eating jollof rice is typically with goat curry or chicken curry. So this is not a standby dish itself. What I'm going to do instead is, I don't need a curry because this is clearly way more runny than it needs to be. But I'm going to just cook some paneer. And those who don't know what paneer is, it's not Indian cottage cheese, because if you go and look it up, it's going to tell you Indian cottage cheese, and the texture is nothing like cottage cheese that you get in the Western countries. The closest thing that I can tell you what paneer is if you know halloumi. It's exactly like that. It's squeaky, it comes in a big block, cooks pretty well. So I think that's what I'm going to pair this with to get some protein in. But overall, I think I would give it a 7 on 10. Mainly because of the taste, but not because of the texture. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun Premier League first week. At the time of this recording, Fulham are still supposed to play Chelsea. As an Arsenal supporter, I hope Chelsea drop points, but only time will tell. But let me know what you think about my try of making jollof rice. Whether you like it or not. If you like this video, please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel. Because what I'm going to do is effectively make 38 new recipes across the next 9 months. And that's the aim, right? We learn new recipe, we have fun with it, but also we talk about football. So until next time, please make sure that you take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next video.